I went to a library sale today and bought these books. There's a whole bunch of them here. I can't even show them all in the frame. The ones here on the left are a whole bunch of Christian romance novels of the Heartsong Presents line from the 1990s or so. Um, I've read one book in that series. So when I went to the sale, I saw they had a whole box full of them. There's like 54 of these novels here. And they run from book number, this is 892. You can see there, it's hard to see. See if it'll show up. There we go. Heartsong Presents number 892. Let's see what this one says. That says, well, it's hard to focus in there. Let's see if it'll let us. Oh, it's not doing it. But that one is 896. So it goes from there to, well, like 1013 or something like that. Then I have a bunch of Harlequins that I got in here. And then I got a bunch of non-romance ones. So I'd say about a third or so is non-romance. But yeah, this library sale was pretty cool. It's a local library. And they had it was a 2-day sale. And today was the second day, the last day of it. And you could fill a bag for $5. And they're pretty big bags too. There's sort of like those reusable bags, people use for groceries and things like that. So they were pretty big. So I bought a total of 129 books for a total of $10 because I filled one bag full of mostly these books over here, and then that was $5, and then I went back in and got the Heartsong Presents ones. That was another $5. So I don't know what that, my math isn't the best, so I assume that's something like a little less than 10 cents each for all these books. Now, some of these I'm just going to resell. I thought they were good resell items because I can't keep everything that I get. In fact, there's more books behind here. Behind this row, there's 2 more rows. So let's just run through them. These are the Heartsong Presents ones. We'll look at these real quick. Now, the thing I like about this line, I guess I've only read one book in the line, but the thing I like about it is that some of the stories are historical and some are contemporary, which is reminiscent of my favorite romance line, which was the Candlelight romance line that Dell published from 1967 to 1982. You never knew what you were going to get with those because some of the books would be historical, some would be contemporary. And obviously, this looks more of like a contemporary book. This looks like a little more of a historical. So I like that variety. Move this over and get another one in here. So I've recently taken an interest in this line. Sometimes people kind of dismiss Christian fiction. They just kind of think of it as, I don't know, inferior to mainstream fiction, but I don't feel that way. I find, and plus these are really thin, they feel like the kind of book that you could just sit down and read and enjoy, and are going to have a moral message. Usually they don't, beat you over the head with the religious message. I mean, there may be, the characters are maybe a little more pious, but for me, that's a plus because I feel that's a perspective that is not often represented in, entertainment. Usually, you don't have characters who are religious, as just a normal everyday part of their lives, which is the case with, many people. But since, religion is considered a divisive topic, entertainers usually just don't include that aspect to the lives of their characters. But obviously in Christian fiction, that's going to be an exception. And it's going to be actually a vital part of the character. So again, you can see this is, like a contemporary scene, and then you have like historical. And they had some nice, attractive covers during this period. Now, this is different than the love-inspired line, which is a similar thing which Harlequin published and still publishes. This was published by, well, it just says by Heartsong Presents. But it was, my understanding, Barber Publishing, an imprint of Barber Publishing, which my understanding was a Christian publisher. Back in the day, not so much these days, but at least in my area, you had Christian stores. There would be like Eden Books, or later there was the family Christian stores where they would have all Christian books. That was the only thing they sold, Christian books and Christian music. But those are no longer available, no longer around these days, at least in my area. So yeah, I was really happy when I saw that box. I was like, I wonder if I can fit them all in one bag. And I was able to do just that. Like I said, I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep all of these, but I'm going to hang on to them for a little while. I already do have some more of these too. Probably about a dozen, maybe, or less. And again, they are the kind of book that you're likely to see in even like a free box. They're considered, something that maybe people would not have much value for. They would, just kind of look down on as, a sort of specialized interest that they, isn't going to be considered great literature or anything. But I think they're kind of cool. These are some nice covers too. I mean, that's like that looks like a very romantic type cover. Kind of makes you want to read what the story is about. That train in the distance. Again, you can see the old-fashioned vehicle in the background. And this is the last of them. This is book number 1016. So we had like the late 800s, like 898 or whatever it was, to 1016. All right, so that's it for the Heartsong Presents. Here's some more. We have here a Betty Neal's book, Best of Betty Neal's. It's a reprint of the Harlequin Presents writer, or not Harlequin Presents, Harlequin Romance. And some Harlequin Special Edition from more recent years. This is 2020. This is the book number and the date on that one. A Harlequin Intrigue. I've actually had this book, I think, like 3 times. I mean, this would be like the 3rd time I've had it. But I usually put them up on eBay, and they are pretty popular. Speaking of popular, these love-inspired suspense, which is a spin-off of the Love Inspired series, again, a Christian fiction series, and they are actually pretty popular. I mean, if you ever find them cheap, grab them. They are the kind of thing that if you listed them on eBay, people will buy them. I mean, I would recommend putting them in lots, you know. And Heather Woodhaven, I think she wrote the, this is from January 2022. I think she wrote the Christmas, Covert Christmas Twin and Undercover Twin. I mentioned those ones in a previous video. Probably part 1 or part 2 of my romance novel collection series, when I talked about this, that line. Here's a regular love-inspired book, you know, part of the main love-inspired. This is part of the Amish subcategory. And speaking of Amish, here's another one. The Amish Quiltmaker's Unexpected Baby. It's a very appealing cover. It's like a nice new looking book too. 2021. Now this one is interesting. This is a historical advance uncorrected proof, not for sale. Now it has it's a little slicker paper on the inside here, but you can see the little shine on it. But when I opened it up, it started cracking. There you go. See? Oh, the page is coming out. I could always try to glue that together, but I imagine just the process of reading this book is going to destroy it. That's something I might just put up on eBay if someone is curious. And this is a nice, clean-looking book too. Nice white pages, that nice white back cover. Looks unread. Christine Feehan novel. This is from like 2013, I think. Let's see what it says. 2008. So yeah, it's a nice condition. All right. Now we get to the non-romance stuff. I actually already have this book. In fact, I have it right over here. Oh, by the way, I just noticed this. This is one that Heartsong Presents that I mentioned I had read. This is the only Heartsong Presents that I've read. This is book number 603. Let's see what year it is. This is this is 2004. So those ones that I showed aren't from the 1990s. They're from the mid 2000s. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I can't remember how much, what grade I gave it on Goodreads, but it was a good grade. Anyways, so here you have two of the same book. Now, one of these I already had, and it was this one, because I can notice there's like some speckling on it. I already had this book, but when I saw this at the library sale, I couldn't remember if I had it or not. So I'm going to keep this one because it's in better condition. The other funny thing is, when I looked inside, I noticed that this says first printing, January 1988. Now, the copy that I had before, when you look inside, it says second printing, December 1988. So this was actually a second printing, too. But again, I think I'm going to get rid of this one and hang on to the first printing just because it looks nicer. All right, so we have some more mystery books. John Dixon Carr. This is Dr. Gideon Fell. There's a couple books that have this similar like cover design and stuff. And Agatha Christie, Ed McBain. This one, Funny Bones, an anthology. Usually I like these short story anthologies. Fortunately, this one has a nasty looking stain on it. And then I got a whole bunch of Dick Francis books. And again, these were just sort of books that I thought might be good resale items. You know, sort of vintage mystery. He was known for his racing, horse racing themed books. Whoops. These ones have a similar looking theme. Dick Francis there. Published by Pocket Books. I actually used to have this one before. Had it in the past at some point, and I believe I sold it. And some more Dick Francis. Some more, these are like probably from the 1980s. They were in nice, clean condition. And it was sort of at the end. I was on my second bag, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to cram these in here. Find room for them. All right. Back to some romance, actually. Barbara Cartland's health food cookery book, published by Pyramid Books, which was her publisher of her romance novels at the time. (1971), it says. And there's a little introduction, it looks like, by Barbara Cartland, before you get to the recipes. And she talks about her stuff. So actually, there's a lot of information from Barbara Cartland there as well. All right. I don't know what these are exactly, but they're Jelna books. There's actually 4 of them here. This looks more like of a gothic romance of the time, but apparently they are like historical books. One of the great romantic bestsellers of our time. Now the funny thing is see, this is 1927. This is one of those old things. There was a note in here. It says, the books are for Randy. Start with Jolna. Our Irish background. Love, looks like Grandma. So, apparently Grandma liked these books and wanted to share them with perhaps a daughter or granddaughter. And so those were interesting. Here's 3 other ones. I don't know what to make of these books. This is the Kristen Levrinsdatter series, books number 1, 2, and 3, written by Sigrid Undset. I think these are from the 1920s. And they're sort of like, look like religious historical novels. These were the kind of things I think that before you had actual historical romance novels, people might have gravitated to. All right. So now we have some science fiction. This is an Edgar Rice Burroughs book, originally titled Beyond 30, when it was first published in, I think, 1916 or something like that. There's a note here about it. The February 1916 issue of All Around magazine. But for this publication, it's titled Beyond 30, with cover art and title page illustration by Frank Frazetta. And this is a new Doc Savage novel. I think it's written by Will Murray. It has a few interior illustrations inside. This is from 1993. Some of the characters. Louis L'Amour book. C.S. Forester Horatio Hornblower book. And then we have a whole bunch of The Destroyer, which is not a series I'm a fan of. Never read one. I have a friend who likes them. And the funny thing is these like men's adventure books. Some of these have a thing on here for the Book Bin, which was a local used bookstore. And those ones don't. That one does. Where you would often see, the Destroyer novels on the shelves. So somehow they ended up there. This is a Mac Bolan spin-off series, Stony Man, from like 2008. And then I have a Star Wars novel and Star Trek Deep Space Nine novel. And then we have a bunch of Hardy Boys. These are from like circa 1990. Paperback book series. Which are kind of cool covers. This interesting cover. The Ghosts Always Welcome. The Fight at the Arcade. Flight into Danger. This is a Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys super mystery. There's a team up between the two. And then finally a Nancy Drew novel. The Nancy Drew Files was a paperback book series from the late 80s, early 90s. And then we have some C.S. Lewis Narnia books. I'm going to move these out of the way. Now, the reading order of these was changed later. These original editions, original paperback editions, had a different chronology, different numbering than these ones. See how it says book 3 and book 4, book 5. I believe in the later editions they changed some of the arrangement, because one, it was originally like in publication order, and then they decided to go into story order, so it's a little different. And then apparently there's some disagreement too. These are the classic covers that I associate with the Narnia Chronicles. And a book by George MacDonald, was like a fairy tale writer of back in the day. I'm not exactly sure when. It doesn't give a copyright date, but these are kind of curious. There's some illustrations inside, which is kind of neat. And a kid's book about Midway, looks like, published by Scholastic, I think. Yep. 1970s. A documentary history of the United States is like a vintage book that has various things like the Constitution in it. UFOs and Their Mission Impossible by Dr. Clifford Wilson. This is by the author of Crash Go the Chariots, which I believe is like a Christian response to UFO phenomenon. But this one's actually published by Signet. I think Crash Go the Chariots was like from a religious publisher. Anyway, it's kind of crackpot literature. Some of the chapter titles would give you an idea. And some more kids' book things. Pebbles and Bam Bam novel, if you ever wanted to read a Flintstones novel. This is a weird kids' book from the 70s, as you can tell from the art. Mountain Horror. It's like Anna's escape. Anna never heard from her parents again. She learned they had been shot to death in a prison camp. If she had stayed behind, she would have been shot too. That's like the last sentence. Very strange. Facts and Fun About the Presidents, another kid's book. This one has a weird thing about a guy who was president for a day back in 1848, 1849. So I think that's probably a technical thing. An Archie Comics Digest. This one has a story where he dates Big Ethel, which is kind of unusual. Archie and Big Ethel. Who would have guessed it? A Doonesbury cartoon book. I like this one because it's nice big size. It's a soft cover, but it's... You might even have a paperback edition of this, but I prefer this, obviously, the nice big size of it. It's a little bigger than a paperback. Batman Forever novelization by Alan Grant. There's some color photos in it. And last book was a memoir by Roseanne Cash. That's it. That's my big haul. I got all that for $10 whole. Hope you enjoyed it. Not all of it was romance, but hopefully enough of it was to justify it appearing in my series of videos, my romance novel collection. I wasn't sure what I was going to put as part 50 of my series, but because I hadn't put up a video in a while, and so I wasn't sure if what I was going to do. But I wasn't getting stuff that really justified putting up a video. But I thought, well, I got so many today, I might as well do a big video about it, even though not all of it is romance. So anyways, hope you enjoyed watching it. Thanks for watching.